Hello everyone, welcome to the LFC Transfer Room, and we have a special episode tonight. One more day until the transfer deadline ends, and just like Liverpool, we have made a late move for Lewis Steele. Literally 24 hours before it shuts, Lewis Steele's here, journalist for the Mail, Liverpool journalist as such, and he is here to give us some updates on potential transfers coming in, potential contracts going on with Van Dijk, Trent and Salah possibly, and also more outgoings. I mean, we're having more outgoings than like a Boxing Day sale at the moment. So there's even more con to Lewis that potentially could happen in the next 24 hours. It's going to be a wild 24 hours, but we're here to give you the news, get the latest news, give you the latest transfer news. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are on Twitter, come over to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel. We're live every single night, 7:30. And get your comments in, guys. Lewis is here for an hour with us. So if you want to ask him anything in the comments, please do. If there's anything bugging you, any players that you want to come in. I'm not saying Lewis knows everything, but he knows quite a lot. He does know quite a lot. He's very, very, I'd say, tier 1 journalist right now, is Lewis, in terms of Liverpool. So Lewis, welcome to the show. Chiesa Signs. Yes, fine. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. Great signing, Chiesa. I think £10 million. I've just wrote an article actually saying it could be the bargain of the summer in the Premier League. Just when you think of some of the other deals that have happened across the league this summer, Pedro Neto for 54 million or whatever it was. Obviously, he's an okay player, Pedro Neto, but he's not 5 times better than Federico Chiesa. And 4-year deal, it's very low risk for me, especially in this day and age. You don't get many players for £10 million. Like, that's what Liverpool sold Bobby Clark for. That's the money they've got pretty much from the Solanke sell-on fee this summer. So you can't grumble at all at the price. Yes, he's got a dodgy injury record at best. I think it's fair to say, you have to point that out, to be fair. But before that, he was one of the best players in Europe. Everyone was talking about him. Can he be Italy's next big thing? And Liverpool have now got some great options in that front line. And I think Chiesa, if he can pop in with some big goals this season, then he'd already pay back that fee.
I mean, like you said, £10 million. It is pretty much a low risk signing, even with the injuries, really, because he's potentially like a world class player when he does come on. And we have probably potentially got the best forward line in the world football in terms of six outfield players that are, very, very good on a day. But, we're all worried here. And I'm on every single week speaking about DMs, speaking at centre-backs, where we know we're not the perfect article. And we're still 1 or 2 players short, especially issues in DM area and centre-back area. I mean, we've been crying for a DM for like 2-3 years now, and still not addressed it. Also, Zubimendi went up earlier on in the transfer window. Yeah. Let's push onto that DM then, Lewis, first and foremost, because for me it's the biggest issue of what we have right now. So we're playing Gravenberch there, but again out of position like we did Maka last season. Zubimendi was the first option we went for. Is there actually anyone else that we're possibly interested in at all?
Well, the word when the Zubimendi thing happened, what was it? It was probably only 2 weeks ago now, but it feels like a lifetime ago when he rejected Liverpool, was that it was Zubimendi or no one, and that is still the word. I think, Zubimendi, good player. Liverpool are very light in that position. I think it is fair to say. Arne Slot's not a massive fan of Endo. Gravenberch's been okay, but the opposition has been Ipswich and Brentford. How does he fare if they're playing Arsenal or City or Real Madrid?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see on that. Obviously, we think Stefan Bajetic's going to go out on loan. McAllister's great, but he's not amazing off the ball. You need someone next to him, basically. So I think, overall, looking at this window, the fact they have missed out on that defensive midfielder is a big frustration for Liverpool. I think they would, in an ideal world, they'd be signing one, but they just don't believe there's anyone out there that can strengthen the squad that would be, a long-term signing, because obviously last season Endo was a stopgap, I think is the word that everyone uses. I wouldn't 100% rule it out, but there's 24 hours only just over 24 hours to go. So it would be absolutely mental if a defensive midfielder does come in. Maybe it's one to revisit in January. I know, big clubs these days don't do too much business in January, but who knows whether Liverpool could revisit that then. Obviously, the whole pre-season has been about Slot getting his feet on the floor, weighing up his squad. But I do think, we might look back in April or May and think if there was a quality DM in there, could Liverpool have got 5 more points, for example? If that was the difference between them or City or Arsenal or whoever winning the league this season, then it could be the fact that they just don't have that controller in the midfield.
I mean, that we thought about the end of last season, didn't we, Stu? Where it came to the end and we're like, why didn't we get a DM? Like, why were we replacing? Why were we waiting? We should have future-proofed Fabinho anyway, these players anyway, beforehand. But waiting another 2 years since Fabinho's gone, now we're still not getting a DM. It's a big, big issue, isn't it, Stu? I mean, Lewis said there, we've only played Brentford and Ipswich without disrespect, but when you come against Arsenal, even though like Man United on Sunday, it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
It is. It's something I pinpointed with Grav. I mean, Grav, I think, has played these last 2 games perfectly in that pivot role. I can't fault him, and it surprised me a little bit. But I did say I think it was on the last stream I was on, the tests are going to come against the likes in the big games against United, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, maybe Spurs, maybe. They're a little bit more dubious. I'll probably put them on a level of Fulham at the moment, but there are going to be bigger games, and even more so now in Europe, looking at the Champions League draw as well. Are we going to rely? Is Grav going to be the player to be that number 6 up against the likes of Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., Bellingham, Mbappe? That's a tough ask. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but that is a massive ask. And there's a lot of weight on his shoulders as well for somebody who has admitted that he started off in that position, but he prefers playing further forward. So are we going to leave ourselves hamstrung again for the 3rd season on the bounce? I really hope not. But as Lewis said, time's running out. It's less than 24 hours now. I can't see it happening. Liverpool aren't shy about going into the market in January. They've done it before. But we're going to be a few months into the season by that point. Where we're going to be. Hopefully, we're going to be near the top of the league. We're going to be further along in the cup competitions, but we just don't know. It's a tough one. I think if we don't get one now, depending on how the season's going, I think it has to be a necessity in January more than anything else. Sign nobody else besides a DM in January. That has to be the pinpoint, especially, say, for example, if we're pushing top of the league. We're going toe-to-toe with City and Arsenal again.
We've had this before, though, haven't we, Stu? It happened in 2021 season where we didn't sign a centre-back to replace Lovren. Van Dijk got injured. The injury-prone in terms of Gomez and Matip got injured, expected. And we went into January, just stood there, paused and waited till the last minute to get Kabak and Davis.
And so that's the problem, because we haven't stepped out of our comfort zone and found that player. I mean, I understand wanting to find the right player, but there are plenty of DMs around that can do the job. And it bemuses me a little bit. I think maybe sometimes the data analysts are being probably a little too nitpicky. I don't know whether Lewis could correct me on that or not. I know it's their way of doing things at the club, but sometimes you can look at too many numbers, if you get what I'm saying. And sometimes you just need to go on, like, sort of perhaps what the general consensus is more than anything else. But that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to look for those sort of players. So,
Stevie, I see you, Lewis. Do you think we're going to go for Zubimendi again in January? Do you think we're going to go for Zubimendi at all? Do we have anything to throw him, like a few mountains or anything?
Unless someone gets building a nice little mountain in the middle of Liverpool centre.
It's not far from Snowdon, surely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll make the drive from North Wales and pick him up every time he's not playing if he wants.
Or open a few tapas and paella bars. But, no, I don't know. Like, why? If he said he don't want it in the summer, I can't really see what's going to change in 4 or 5 months, unless Real Sociedad just completely bomb it in the league this season and they're awful, and he thinks, oh, you know what, I made the wrong decision, and he gets on to Liverpool and says, well, I'm sorry, lads, but I made the wrong decision. But no, it doesn't. I can't see that one at all. 99% off the table for me. But I don't think they'll be scared of doing business in January. It's just this window's not even finished yet, and we're talking about January. It seems a bit silly, but it's just that we've run out of time, really, haven't we, for a number 6 in this window? But I think they are still looking at options. It's just whether they can get them over the line in a matter of 24 hours, which seems incredibly unlikely.
Is there any names that's coming up at all in terms of DM?
Not really. I heard that Olympiacos chap got mentioned before, but I don't think there's anything in that. I think they're closed for business in terms of a number 6 this summer.
Dylan, we're talking about DM now, but again, centre back's another one that we're really worried about, if I'm honest, because we've got Van Dijk, and after that on that left side, probably Gomez can cover there, and it's Nat Phillips. If we're perfectly honest, it's Nat Phillips.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about Van Dijk possibly leaving with the other two as well, with his contract running out. We haven't future-proofed Van Dijk, we're future-proofing Alisson finally, but that Van Dijk future-proof needs to happen as soon as Villa, doesn't it, Dylan?
Yeah, it does. We're all talking, like you said, we're all talking about a DM, but with the possibility of Van Dijk not signing a contract and leaving next summer, we haven't got anyone to step into that role. That Kwanzaa's doing well, but he's still young. Gomez might be off. I was talking about this the other day. You look going into this season, if Gomez goes, you're looking at Konate, Van Dijk, Quansah, and Phillips as our 4 first team centre backs, and it's not, doesn't fill me full of confidence if Van Dijk gets an injury that we've got the decent cover there. And like you said, we've weirdly future-proofed Alisson. Hopefully not. We won't see him go for a few years, but it's strange for us to go and do that when we've already got Kelleher, and they've rejected a bid for Kelleher. They don't want him to go, but yet they're signing another goalie to replace Alisson when he decides he's off. So it does that. Kelleher must be looking at that, thinking, well, am I going to get that number 1 spot at Liverpool, or am I just going to be second choice the whole time? And he wants to go and get games. So, but why aren't we doing the same in centre back? Why aren't we looking out there and looking for players to come in and possibly cover that space if we lose Van Dijk, if we do, lose Gomez? If Gomez goes in the next 24 hours, I don't see us bringing a centre back in. It'll be way too unless there's one already being planned, and that's what's, I wouldn't be surprised to see us bring one more in. But if it is a centre back, I don't know.
Lewis, is the one being planned?
Well, I know that they had a recruitment meeting on Monday, and they were basically saying these are the players we were going to target. And all I'd say on that is I'd be very surprised if Chiesa was the only name that came up in that meeting. I think in an ideal world, they're bringing a defender in the next day. But as I have to keep saying, that they are running out of time. It looks like Joe Gomez will end up staying, just based on the fact that there doesn't seem to be a suitor out there that will pay what Liverpool want for him. And also Liverpool wouldn't want to let Gomez go now, based on the fact that they haven't got a replacement lined up, because obviously Van Dijk is excellent, but he can't play every week. He's 32, and there's so many games this season with Champions League, 8 group games or league games, whatever they're called. Konate's fitness record he was okay last season, to be fair, but before that it's been a bit shaky. And Quansah's only a young lad still, so they've got to keep Gomez unless they've got a replacement lined up. And like I said, I think they would like to do one, and they've explored a few possibilities, but I don't think that one is going to happen now.
Genuine question here says, why not let Phillips go? That's insane to me. The lad deserves to go play somewhere. Do you know anything on that Phillips at all, Lewis? I mean, we're all baffled why he's still here, and that's no disrespect to him, but
yeah. Well, basically, Liverpool wanted a sale for him, and they wanted a permanent move. They wanted about 8 to 10 million, and he was on loan at Cardiff in the Championship last season, and Championship clubs just can't afford to pay 10 million
Yep,
for a
yep.
defender who's, you know, I don't know how old he is, but he's not young, is he, anymore? So I think they're now open to letting that go out on loan, but he's got to find himself a club, and he's not got much time to do it. I think Turkish clubs were keen at one point. There's a few Championship clubs were keen, but you know, he's still here as it stands. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we hear something in the morning that Nat is on his way for a medical somewhere and it just come out of the blue like that. I think his reps are trying to get him a move in the next 24 hours, but we'll just have to see.
It's quite often that Liverpool. It seems quite often that Liverpool outprice players out moves. You know, it happened with Origi for a couple of times. You know, we put like 20, 30 million on him. Nat Phillips is another one. We've done it a few times where we've priced players out of moves. Is that a plan where we're trying to get more money in to help with transfers, or do you think it's more of that's the actual value we think they are?
Well, two things. Firstly, is like Sepp van den Berg went on the record and said Liverpool are pricing him out of a move, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, Liverpool ended up getting more for him than they even wanted. They only wanted 20 million. They ended up getting about 25 when you include add-ons. So you can't blame them for that. They obviously have the valuations, and from what I'm told, that they come to their valuations by assessing the market and what has happened elsewhere. So, you know, Sepp van den Berg, they'll look at Taylor Harwood-Bellis, for example, went to Southampton for 20 mil, and a few others have gone for similar fees, young players with less experience, so that's why they wanted that. As for Tyler Morton, who's they value at the same, about 20 mil, they look at Palace bought Adam Morton for a similar fee, and he had less experience than Morton did in the Championship with his couple of loans. So that's how they reach the valuations. It does sort of price a few players out, but I think they would, you know, budge slightly if they needed to get rid of players tomorrow. They might knock off a few million. I'm not sure.
Reece, we talk about every time that about the sales. You know, the sale money brought in is nearly 70 million now. Is it the potential of other players going as well? And we've spent what I think it's 10, 12 on Chiesa, so about 25 currently on the keeper, with obviously add-ons and things like that. So you're talking about 35 up to 40 million possibly was spent. You know, what we're gonna where's the budget for before the sales? You know what I'm saying? Like, we should, Liverpool Football Club should have a budget before sales anyway. So is the money there to go and extend this team?
The money's there, but you know how FSG are, and obviously you've got Edwards back now, and then he's got Mark Hughes, and they've got a new committee and whatnot. I don't think, like I said, if they were going to get the DM, you would have got him already. And you know how Liverpool are, they're quite particular where they, when they go after a particular player, look, when Klopp was there, he waited for Konate, he waited for Van Dijk. There's certain players they'll try and come back for. Obviously, Zubimendi, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but they don't look like they're going to panic by it, because obviously a lot of other teams do that, and you see that doesn't really end up quite well. Like Stu said, I would like to try and get a DM in January. Like, hopefully from here to January, they'll be trying to work on trying to get someone, because say we're in the title race or we're in every competition challenging for everything, that could be a game changer. But yeah, I only see really potentially that we might be able to get a centre back. Maybe if I had to lean on it, I'd say I'm 50% sure. I would say that maybe a centre back that we might get, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chiesa is if he's the only one.
That's it. Yeah, Lewis, we talked about Tyler Morton earlier, didn't we? And the DM position. Well, we're already down to his bare bones. It seems in that position already. Tyler Morton going out. Obviously, he doesn't seem that level yet, and he certainly needs more possible loan time. Is there a potential? Is it a loan, or is it more of a transfer straight out on Morton?
The club want a permanent deal, and I think Tyler Morton would prefer a loan. because, you know, Leverkusen were one of the clubs that was sniffing. I think they made a loan bid. And Leverkusen basically said to Liverpool, obviously paraphrasing, that if he goes out on loan for a year, plays 50% of our games, he could be doubled in price by the time that he comes back next year, because, you know, he'd be playing Champions League football for Leverkusen, competing for the Bundesliga title. And I think he wanted that move because he idolised Xabi Alonso as a kid. But I think Liverpool would prefer a sale. 20 million seems to be the quoted value. And it now looks in the balance whether he does leave or not. But if he doesn't, he could provide a little decent bit of cover, because he's not a bad player at all. He's you know, he played okay in pre-season. I know it was only the Championship last season, but I'm good mates with a Hull fan, and he said he was amazing. But obviously it is only the Championship. But I think he does have a big future. Whether that's at Liverpool or not sure. But it wouldn't be the end of the world if he stuck around and maybe played a couple of Carabao Cup games or whatever.
Like you said there, you're in touch with his family. I speak to his mother now and then as well, and they are a decent family. Also, Liverpool fans grew up in Liverpool, and obviously for him, he will want to stay. But again, it's down to the club if they want the money for him, and they seem to be selling everyone to get some money in. But where's his money going in the end? That's what we want to know, really. And Matt Johnson's here. You can see the frustrations, Gary Lewis. Really, you can see the frustrations in the fan base. Like, we're clearly short on certain places. Trying to find deals and stuff like that is ridiculous. We are supposed to be a big club. You know, Man City are the perfect example. Obviously, things possibly going on with Man City, but in terms of future-proofing and things like that, look what they did with Fernandinho. They brought Rodri in early and eased Fernandinho out into Rodri. We've never really done that. This is the first time we've done that in terms of Van Dijk. We did it a little bit with Diaz and Mane. But why aren't we doing that? Is there a reason for that?
I honestly, I'd love to know the answer, but the whole thing this summer has been about being opportunistic and being quality over quantity, and, you know, in some ways you can respect that. Like, you don't want to do a Chelsea and go and sign 11 players for the sake of it, but it is bizarre that they haven't signed more players. Like, overall, I do think the squad is very good, and I don't think they need too many players. But if I was the transfer people at Liverpool, I would have definitely prioritised the number 6 and gone all out to sign number 6. And I would have signed a defender. Like, I know it's not Football Manager. I know it doesn't work like this, but this is what I would have done. I would have signed an attacker, which they have done now as well. Maybe a left back too, because Andy Robertson's 30. And he's not getting any younger. And, you know, he's had injury problems last season, sorry. But it's just not worked out for Liverpool, this transfer. And I think they have tried. They've just not got the targets they wanted. Like, obviously, they were keen on Lenny Oro at one point at the start of the window. It's just not worked out. And obviously, we all knew what happened with Zubimendi. That one they thought they could do, and it just never, because of the player, he didn't want it. They've definitely tried to sign players. It's just that the players haven't wanted to come, and I'm not really sure why that is.
Does it seem like I don't want to say that, but it does seem like a cocky approach, doesn't it, to it? Like, Zubimendi, and that's it. We think we're going to go and get him, sort of thing, and then there's no one else after that. There's got to be players out there. You know, we go through this every single week and think, DMs that could improve us. There's no way there's not a DM out there that can improve a player that's playing that position. And no offense to Endo, but Endo. I mean, last year I also went to Caicedo. We messed that up because we waited too late for the Caicedo thing. Chelsea had already done that, the hard work in that. How serious are we about going for this DM, really? Because it's really, really frustrating, And we're like, we'll wait another window. How long do you wait for addressing such a big position?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I do think you do have to be patient in the long and think long term in some respects, because you never know. Liverpool might wait a year and just get the perfect DM next summer, or they might sign a stopgap and then miss out on a DM next summer. It could work out like that. But it seems bizarre that they haven't signed one to me, unless we for all we know, Ryan Gravenberch might be amazing in that position. I just haven't seen enough evidence of that yet, based on he's only played 2 games. He's played 2 good games, but it's not enough, data to suggest that he's like going to be the answer long term. But yeah, overall, it seems a bit strange to me that they haven't signed a DM. Will it come back to bite them? I mean, I looked at the stats of Rodri last season when he didn't play. So he played 34 games. City didn't lose any of them, and he missed 4 games, and they lost 3 of them. And that's, for me, that is just the difference between having a quality operator in there and not. And obviously, there isn't anyone better than Rodri on the market, but it's just, could that have taken Liverpool the next step to, those defeats at the end of last season? Could they have been draws? The draws, could they have been wins if they had that quality sort of operator in the number 6 role? I thought that was the biggest thing that cost them at the end of last season, to be honest, as well as a bit of
massive goals,
the chances in front of goals as well. But like that's what I sort of thought when the Zubimendi thing happened, and I haven't really changed on that yet.
We were Anfield quite easily last season, especially the second half of the season. We were Anfield quite easily, and it's massive. If you look over the years, I've said it's plenty of times. So look at the years Premier League winners, Roy Keane, Man United. They've always had that DM. Kante, Makelele, Chelsea. Us with Fabinho, you with Fernandinho and Rodri. It's proof there that how important that DM is, and how important that operator or that sort of bruiser is. What kind of DM you want? There's 2 different kinds of DMs, isn't there? So, but it's still an important position. Let's talk about someone who I have signed in today, Federico Chiesa. Unbelievable deal. Do you know the ins and outs of the deal? Obviously the add-ons and things like that, and the transfer wages. Is it? I think we reported like 220k, 110k a week. I think it was that I saw earlier.
I think it's less than that. I don't know the exact figure.
I heard 81,000. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I thought it was around.
There's been a few figures here.
Yeah.
I thought it was
basically apparently been kept on the same wages that he was on Uwe. So,
yeah. That's what I was told. He was kept on the same wages, and so the ins and outs of the deal. It's 10 million base fee, 2.5 million in add-ons, and the add-ons that Liverpool hope they do have to pay because it's based on winning the Prem and the Champions League. So hopefully for Liverpool fans they do pay them. So 12.5 million overall, 4-year deal, same wages as Juve. He's rejected offers from elsewhere. I think Saudi, a couple of European clubs came in for him. Not just, and they are bigger offers than Liverpool made in terms of money and the contract length and whatever. He really wanted the move. It all happened very quickly. I think he spoke to Richard Hughes on the phone. He spoke to Slot on the phone. I think a couple of Liverpool staffers went out to Turin. I'm not sure who they were, to speak to Juve and him directly. And then he flew over yesterday, as we know. Did his medical, was there till quite late last night. Did more this morning. Done all his media stuff today. Pictures, probably had 1,000 pictures taken. There was LFC TV interview. It was probably quite a busy day for him, so he could do with a rest. Liverpool are pushing to get international clearance for him to play on Sunday, which should be a formality. I don't think that will be a problem, but also I don't think he would play on Sunday. He definitely wouldn't start, would he? But he seems like he really wanted the move, and I think that impressed Liverpool. And Liverpool are really, I think the belief in the club is that they've got one of the bargains of the summer, which is what I said at the top of the show. And I agree with that, to be honest, because he's still a good player. Obviously, he's had his injuries, but Virgil van Dijk had a big injury and he's come back as good, if not better. There's no reason why Chiesa can't do that when he's got a manager who believes in him. Because the problem at Juve was he had a bit of a fallout with Max Allegri. The new manager didn't like him, Thiago Motta. But Arne Slot clearly wants him, and with a bit of confidence, he could be a real big player for Liverpool, I think.
Reece, how important will Chiesa be this season, do you reckon? Because when you like Salah's not scoring goals, and we need someone to step up. He's a very, very good goal scorer as well as an assister in Chiesa, and Is someone to replace Salah on that side? Put a proper straight replacement sort of thing. We've been playing Soboslai there a couple of times. Elliott again, not proper right wingers. How important is it to keep in those? I want to say title race because I want to believe a little bit, but certainly top 4 race in terms of Chiesa's importance.
I think he's a game changer. Obviously, a lot of people sleep on Chiesa because he's had an injury, but if you check his record, the amount of games he played for Juve last season, I think was 34 games or something like that. Obviously, we've been screaming out for someone to come and give Salah competition as well, because as much as a great player and servant Salah is, he has his periods during the season where his form kind of dips. So I think that will keep Salah on his toes. But I also think that keeps the rest of the front line on their toes. Guys like Gakpo and Diaz as well. Like, especially someone like a Diaz, because obviously he's a talented player, but the thing we've always said about Diaz is the end product that's lacking. So obviously he started the season well, but say if him or Gakpo don't kind of pull their weight, or even a Nunez, I could see Chiesa coming on the left. As much as I want him to come and give Salah competition, I could see him potentially coming in the left if that left side doesn't step up. Obviously, we want to challenge for the league. I'm not really looking at top 4. I think we'll get top 4. Obviously, I know we're missing like a DM and a centre back, a left back, but I think people forget that we were in the title race last season for a majority of the season until the last 4 or 5 games where the wheels kind of fell off. But I think he will be, like what we said, he's a bargain, and I think he will be a game changer for us this season. I like how we spoke about the club as well. You can tell he didn't come just for the money. You see how the Caicedo one, even though you see a few last season where he kind of made it seem like he was always destined for Chelsea. The agent, you could see it was about money, whereas how Kaiser spoke when he said the history of Liverpool was a no-brainer, and obviously when he was in the taxi when he went past the stadium to play the walk alone, you could tell he seems genuine about his passion for Liverpool. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
It's definitely an absolute bargain, I think, for the price he is, and if he does play enough games, he is potentially world class on his day. I mean, I've seen him do it for Italy, I've seen him do it for Juve a few times, stepping up. Even when Ronaldo was there, he stepped up a few times to help Juve get through games. But does that say a lot about the rest of the front line, Lewis? You know, there was rumours the other night about Nunez possibly going to Arsenal. I saw that circulating. And Diaz's future, this is the one in terms of forwards. Diaz's future is the biggest one that we're all doubting in terms of Liverpool, because the talks of Barcelona, his father wanting to go to Barcelona, you know, South American connection with Spanish teams as well. Is Diaz looking like to leave at some point in the near future?
I've not heard anything to suggest that Luis Diaz wants to leave Liverpool. Obviously, if one of the big Spanish clubs come in, that might turn his head slightly, but I wouldn't imagine that would be the case in the near future. He seems happy. He likes his life here. He's got good mates with McAllister and Nunez and Alisson, the South American lads. He started the season really well as well. It's worth saying. You know, he's excellent last weekend. Thought he was man of the match, goal and assist, and he was really good in that Sevilla friendly as well. Was okay against Ipswich. Had a few that he could have scored from that didn't quite work out for him. And the Nunez thing was just, I don't know where that came from. That just seemed like, I don't know where that came from. But Liverpool are, you know, committed to Nunez. We're only 2 games into the season. I don't think you can read too much into the fact that he's not started. I think that's based on a number of factors. Based on, you know, he had a short pre-season after Copa America, whereas Jota had a good pre-season and played well on the tour. So Jota deserved to start those games, and Nunez will be fighting to get his chances in the 11 back. But there's 6 good options there. Obviously, if one of them doesn't play as much as the other, then they'd be in their rights to say, "Oh, I might look for something new next summer." But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that, because I think Slot plans to shake it up quite a lot. We've already seen that he can knock a few noses out of joint with his substitutions. After, you know, hooking Kwanzaa at half-time, Trent wasn't happy to come off last week. There will be times when there will be a time when he hooks Mo Salah in a game, I think, to, you know, freshen things up. But he's got 6 good options, and I think he'll use them all to his advantage. Maybe tailor the front 3 based on the opposition, that sort of thing. But Chiesa really adds a different dimension. He can score goals, he can assist, he can play on both wings, even through the middle if he needs to. So I think it's the perfect signing at very low risk in terms of the fee.
The Nunez news came out of left field, didn't it? It came out of nowhere. I mean, like his football, it's just chaotic. Chaotic news came out of nowhere. We'll talk about the, further future doubts in terms of the big names, but let's talk about the small names. Also, you talked about Martin earlier. Kay Gordon, is he looking like he's leaving anytime soon?
Yeah, I think he'll leave on loan. I'm not. I think Norwich are one of the clubs that are after him, and Swansea tried a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if they're still interested, but they definitely were. There's a few, few hoops to jump through to get a deal done, but I think there are clubs in for him. So we'll have to wait and see. But it'd be good for him. He needs football, doesn't he? So
yeah,
I think he's a lot.
There's a few of them. I mean, Ben Dirk, and that's the one that it looks like it's happening now. Ben Dirk. Do you think that's a good move for him, Ben Dirk, out on loan to Championship?
Yeah, that seems a good move. I mean, I think Ben Dirk is class. I think he's obviously suffered. He had that injury last season, but whenever I've watched him play, he's just so direct. Obviously, lacks end product, but he's only 18 years old, so there's a lot of improvement. But maybe just playing every week in the Champ or wherever he goes would be perfect for him. He's obviously got that Scotland call up as well. The problem he's got is that the Chiesa moved. There's just no path now, is there? Really?
Yeah.
Unless, obviously, as we mentioned, one of them does leave next summer.
I don't know you're on about. Not a clue.
Well, we'll see about that.
Is that an exclusive? Anyway, going further forward, obviously the forward line, but we brought the Georgian keeper in, and we've got Kelleher still. Where does his future lie now?
Yeah, I'm very surprised that Kelleher's still knocking around, to be honest, because he was good last season and he's been on the record saying he wants to be a number one. So I'm very surprised that he is still knocking about. At Liverpool, I think Forest have made a bid today, actually, but it's been rejected. I don't know the price on that yet. I'll try and find out later. Forest had a bid rejected in January as well. I'm very surprised that Kelleher's still knocking about, just based on the fact that he's never going to be the number one at Liverpool realistically. Because Alisson has said last week that he wants to stay around for a while, and even when he does leave, he's got Mohamed as well. So I feel bad for Kelleher, really. He's definitely good enough to be a Premier League number one, mid-table club, definitely. So hopefully for him, he gets a move at some point in the next 6 months, or maybe even tomorrow. Let's see.
Before we do move on to the big names, Liverpool big names, please subscribe to the channel, like the video tonight. If you're on Twitter, come over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to our channel. We're live every single night at 7:30. Get your notification bells on as well. It will let you know when we do go live and for any updates on videos that we do as well. People that we need to subscribe down to Liverpool, Lewis, are the three big names: Salah, Van Dijk and Trent. In your opinion, from what your knowledge is right now, if you have a knowledge on these three alone, which one's likely to go?
Well, whatever I say is going to get eaten up by the aggregators, isn't it? So I have to be careful.
I don't know any aggregators, mate. I don't know any aggregators.
No, well, the older two are different because they are older, Virgil and Mo. But Trent is the one that would worry me the most, just based on his age and his profile as a Scouser and all that. The fact that that's not solved, or the fact that it's got this close to him being able to talk to fellow clubs or other clubs, in Europe, is a worrying thing, because he's being wowed by Jude Bellingham's taking him on holiday to LA, and he's won everything he can win at Liverpool, and I do wonder if there is something in the back of his mind thinking, is it time for me to move on? but that is not based on anything other than me trying to put myself into his mind.
Yeah.
It's they're going to have to do something soon on these contracts, because it's just, once the transfer window's closed and we've run out of transfers to talk about all day long, then that's just going to dominate every single thing. And Arne Slot gets asked about it every week, and he always straight bats it. And to be fair, you don't blame him. Like, why would he talk about it? But he always says, I'm not going to talk about contracts. It makes you feel like contracts is a bit of like a swear word at Liverpool, like almost like, no one talks about it. You ask the players about it, they don't talk about it. We see them in the mix zone after the game and they don't talk about it. Virgil said to us 2 weeks ago, nothing's on the table yet. So I think all three of them love the club. That's undoubtable. It's just they're all uncertain now, but I think I'd be surprised if certainly at least two of them will stay. I think that's just a guess, but it's just
you keep yourself very safe there, very, very safe.
No, it's we know what happened with Mo last summer. The Saudis bid for him.
Yeah,
the Saudis wanted him all summer. I don't know why they left it so late to bid for him, to be honest. Because if they had bid 200 million in June, then Liverpool might have gone to the table. But I don't know if there's like a gentleman's agreement there that he could leave at the end of his contract. I'm not sure about that. That's just a guess again. It's a worry, and it is something that needs to be sorted quick, or it's just going to completely dominate the debates and these sorts of podcasts and every other podcast in the world. So they're going to have to sort it soon, is all I'll say.
And not only that, next season, if we lose like Salah, Van Dijk and Trent, if we lose all three, and we've still not got a DM, and we still need another centre-back, it's just going to be... I mean, Liverpool must be just sitting back and, eating the popcorn at the moment and seeing what plays out, because... Wow, and we're not going to address... I know for a fact we're not going to address all them in one sentence. There's no way we do that. We're taking 3 years to look at a DM properly. The Trent one filmed me the other week, and it said... It was the other week when they reported that Liverpool took the eye off Trent. How have they taken the eye off Trent, Lewis?
Yeah, I don't understand it. There must be something that's going on behind the scenes that is being top secret, because... I can't believe for the life of me that they aren't trying all they can to get Trent signed to a new deal. And yeah, if I was Florentino Perez or someone else at one of the elite clubs, I'd be just sat rubbing my hands right now, because one of the best players in the world could be available on a free transfer, or you could talk to him and negotiate within 4 months' time. So. And you can't blame Real Madrid for doing that, because Carvajal's like in his mid-30s now and he's moving on. It seems bizarre that Liverpool haven't accelerated any talks, but I wouldn't be surprised if, as soon as the transfer window's done, then Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes just get to work. And if the player wants to sign and stay, surely it wouldn't take too long at all for an agreement to be reached. So I wouldn't say there's... Obviously, it is a worry, but... It sounds a weird sentence. It is a worry, but I don't think there's too much reason to be losing any sleep about it just yet. But if it gets to Christmas, then that's different.
Dylan, how long have left these contracts? Do you think that speaks a lot of volumes to Trent and Van Dijk and Salah as well? Does that say, like, why haven't you wanted to sort this yet? And even if the transfer window shuts and then we started then, is it too late, do you think?
No, you've got to think we've had a whole new, we've had Hughes and Edwards back in. We've had a new manager, new backroom staff. Everything's been going on over the last few months, and it's just one of those where if they would have offered him a contract before the end of the season, then happy days. But obviously, they've probably wanted to get things like the manager and stuff out of the way, get all that sorted. I am surprised that none of them that they've not signed. I am surprised that it is taking long. And it's like you said before, it's a worry if all three of them run down to the end of next season, to the end of the season. If you lose a centre back, a right back, and a winger that isn't that's around the first team but doesn't start every week, then it's not much of an issue. But when you lose 3 starters in one summer, and you're still trying to find players for other positions, then it makes it a lot harder to bring people in, a lot harder to fill those positions. If you're looking for, you're talking about going out for 3 world-class players in the same summer, and that doesn't very rarely happens, where a club will sign 3 top players in 3 top positions. So it is a bit of a worry. I do think that, like Lewis said, once the transfer window's closed, as the season progresses, I think talks will happen, and I do expect I expect Van Dijk to stay. I do, and I hope that Trent would stay. I think Trent's the one they need to lock down most, because, like you said, the other 2, they're 30 plus. That all 3 of them have won everything they can, and Trent, like you said, Lewis, might be looking at options that go and join Jude Bellingham at Madrid, do it in a different country, go for something different. But yeah, I'm surprised it's taking so long, but I think I've got a bit of hope that they will start soon and we will get some contracts signed.
What worries me in terms of the club is the ambition for me, and that's where the doubts of the future of Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent lie, because Trent's got Real Madrid looking at him. These a serious club where they go win the Champions League and they go get Mbappe. Not saying we have to go get an Mbappe, but we're sat here 3 years out without a DM. We don't have to have don't have to get these massive big names, but we need to address these things and have ambition to win in the leagues and win in the big cups. Do you think that's a big thing that these 3 will look at, Lewis? The ambition.
It's definitely on the mind, isn't it? I as I said earlier, if you try and put yourself into their shoes and Real Madrid come knocking for you, it's you've got to consider it, haven't you? But you also have to consider the fact that for Trent, especially, this is his boyhood club who he's grew up supporting. He could play for another 10 years here and be just as idolised as a long list of legends have in the past, especially because he'd be the next captain. Probably, iconic pictures of him lifting a trophy along the way. But I wouldn't say there's been a lack of ambition, but surely they do look at the fact that Real Madrid just win a Champions League pretty much every year and then just go and strengthen the squad even further, and it's just like Galactico upon Galactico. It's just mental, like just how big, like how Real Madrid is run. Just like they can just attract
powerhouses, aren't they? Absolute powerhouses. And that's why they constantly win. I mean, we don't have to be Real Madrid, and it's hard to be Real Madrid because they've built that. We've got a big history ourselves, but that's Real Madrid have built that to become the biggest club in the world. So it's easy for them to attract those players. But when Van Dijk comes out and says, "Look, we do need some help here," basically, he's done it twice now. By the way, Lewis, I don't know a captain coming out and saying that. Very rare. I've seen a captain come out and say, "Look, we do need some help here. We need some signings." He said it before we bought Gakpo, didn't he? And they saying it now. He's going to look at that and say, we haven't gone 3 years. We're saying as fans, we haven't gone 3 years as a DM. Am I going to win the league in the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, it's probably goes through his head, doesn't it? He's the captain, but he can't win the league on his own. But Chiesa is a good signing, and it gives them a bit more firepower. I think what a lot of them will think is just what's the situation in like November, December time. Like if Liverpool are challenging for the title, that might sway them to sign on to a new deal. But if they're 10 points off the title, they might think, what, it's time for me to
enough's enough. Yeah,
have something else, because Trent especially could go and win it all at Real Madrid as well, and Van Dijk, you don't know what suitors will be out there for him, but I'm sure the list would be long, even though he's old or aging. And the same for Mo, the the Saudi thing. He could be the most marketed Arab in the world. Blah blah blah. Money to last a week's wages that would last your lifetime. So they've all got big decisions to make, but it lies on Liverpool to get a little charm offensive going and try and get these done, because it's just going to go on and on and on. And every week that passes, the anxiety in the fan base will just grow.
Came back to see his time out of Spain. Well, Lewis said earlier that the club are looking to sell him rather than loan him out. So it all depends on the club that come in, whether they want to buy him or loan him out as well. It also depends on if Talamar accepts a loan deal or transfer, because he does want to stay in the long term. Gomez, is he another player that's obviously we offered him along for the Anthony Gordon deal early on. Is he looking like he's staying now?
It looks that way, doesn't it? There's only 24 or so hours to go. I think Joe Gomez was strongly weighing up his options. He was obviously left out of the squad on the first game. He didn't come on last week either. The word was Slot thought he had enough defensive cover on the bench without Gomez, and that was quite damning, really, for him. I'm sure that wasn't easy for him to hear. But he's been training hard still. He's not been slacking or anything like that. I think in an ideal world, he would have moved on this summer just because he wants to play every week and play centre half every week. But there's not much time left, and I don't think Liverpool would sanction a sale without having a replacement lined up. If out of nowhere Liverpool pull a centre half out of the sky, then maybe they'll find Joe Gomez a club to go to. But the clock's ticking, isn't it? I can't see any of that happening. I wouldn't completely rule out anything on Gomez, but there's not much time to do anything now, so it's going to be hard for anything to happen, I think.
Well, it's not going to be Simakan or Gertrude because they've just moved.
Oh, there you go. We're just losing chance after chance that we're getting players. I don't think I'll look at those two anyway. But is there any centre backs out there that have come up, Lewis? Incap is one that's been, Inacio is another one that's been around. Look at there's a few centre backs. Gehi is another one that's available. I know we haven't looked at him yet, but it's definitely available.
Yeah, Gehi, I would have. I think he's a good player. I mean, obviously, I watched the Euros. I thought he was class there. He's been quite solid for Palace for a number of years now. But if Newcastle can't try with 5 bids, I think it is, I think Liverpool would struggle unless they're just going to chop it.
What makes you think that? What makes you think that?
Well, that saga's been going on for about 2 months, and Liverpool have got a day, so that one's not going to happen. Obviously, there was talk about Jared Brantwaite, rumours circulating. I'm sure in an ideal world, if he didn't play for Everton, they'd love to sign him. But the fact that he plays for Everton just makes that one.
It makes it better. I think it makes it better.
Well, yeah, it would cause riots, though, wouldn't it? Everton are never going to accept that, especially on a deadline day. So that one won't happen. And then there's a few names in Europe that have been floated around all summer, but
I do have a question here for Lewis, actually.
Go on, Steve.
And it's something that we've discussed quite in depth on previous chats. The Caicedo deal last summer. Now, we came in with a £120 million bid to try and poach him away from Chelsea. A lot of beef from Liverpool fans is, okay, if we bid that amount of money for one player last summer, where the hell has all that money gone? Now, in your opinion, would you have said, was that a bluff move, or were we actually being serious about it? Pretty on the spot here, I know, but
it's something that I've been debating in my head for 365 days as well.
I know what I think. I personally think it was just a bluff move.
Yeah, I don't understand what they'd achieve from that, though. Just getting
But it shows that we tried, just like we've done this
and they're
summer.
obviously trying for Lavia too, but
it was the same the summer before with Chouameni as well. We tried for him, and then no. So the club can clearly stump up the cash when they want to bid for a player. But again, the frustration from the Liverpool fans is, why is it taking so bloody long this summer? And it doesn't make any sense to us. I think that is the big frustration from the fans, is that the lack of, I don't know, clear sort of direction we're going in at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, if they've got 100 million to spend on Caicedo a year ago, I don't know why they don't have it now. But they obviously just don't think that the right options out there. That's the word, isn't it? Like, Zubimendi failed, and we all know why that happened. And obviously, they just didn't. I think they were very confident of doing Zubimendi. This is the thing, and I think Zubimendi had given them a verbal agreement. So I don't think that Hughes can get too much flack for missing out on that one, because
I think Sociedad were actually a bit naughty in that one. They basically pulled on the heartstrings a little bit hard to convince him to stay, which I think from their standpoint, okay, he's their player. That's cool. Yeah. You could try it, but Sociedad or Liverpool, which one's going to be winning stuff?
I hope the PowerPoint guy gets a raise anyway. he must have done some good job. I mean, he must have been better than GCSE PowerPoints. I know that.
They ain't started that great to their season as well, or Sociedad. I'm sure they've had like 2 back-to-back losses.
Yeah, that's got karma. That's got karma, Reece. That's got karma.
Obviously, it's early right now, but it's not really working out at the. I mean, so it don't really make sense to me, because
I think a lot of Liverpool fans try to wish it into reality out there at the moment. He's actually becoming that. Gordon and Bamford, you mentioned Bamford earlier, Lewis. Is anything still on? Is there still a chance for Gordon? Maybe not this summer, but in the future summers?
Well, unless there's an exit, there's no room for him now, is there, with Chiesa in?
No.
So I'll just say, unless someone leaves next summer, then no. But I think he really wanted the move when it materialised in the early summer this year, and obviously Liverpool wanted it as well. It just obviously didn't work out for various reasons. So again, comes back to that thing that in an alternate transfer window, Liverpool could be sitting here with Zubimendi running the midfield, Anthony Gordon out wide, and a defender through the door. It just hasn't quite worked out. And I don't think Richard Hughes is too much to blame for that. I do think there obviously is blame to lie on his doorstep. I understand the fans' frustrations, but he's been doing all he can this summer. There's been a few ones where it just hasn't fallen in Liverpool's favour. But Gordon, to answer your question, it seems unlikely now, given they've just signed Chiesa. But if someone did leave next summer, I'm not saying there's any discontent from any of the forwards, but if someone did leave, then I'm sure they'd look at revisiting that one.
I mean, I think Richard Hughes, and especially Michael Edwards in the past, has proven that they can do brilliant deals. Richard Hughes has done it now with the Chiesa deal. He's got a good Manash Deville, very good deal for that as well, in terms of one of the best keepers around in the world. So they have proven that they can do deals. What worries us is what restraints have been held on them to be doing these deals. What budget have they been given? Like I said, we've brought 70 million in the Caicedo money. We don't know where that's gone. So they can do deals. Edwards has done it with Coutinho money. They brought Van Dijk, Fabinho, Alisson Becker. Should we have to tell someone else to have that sort of wage, have that sort of money to be good, doing better deals, do you think?
I don't think they need to sell. There's definitely not a financial problem. Look at the accounts. He made a decent amount of money last summer, financial year, whatever. There's definitely money there. It's just I don't know why they're not spending it. But obviously, if they were, you look at clubs around the Premier League who are spending it, like Chelsea this summer, and even Brighton to some extent. Like,
doing very well, Brighton.
Who's to say that all them deals are going to work out? So it's easy to sit there and criticise Chelsea for their approach, but then also ask for more and more from Liverpool. There is no point in signing players for the sake of it, and I do understand that. I do think, as I keep saying, in an ideal world, they would have got 2 or 3 in this summer, but it's just not materialised, sadly, for Hughes and Edwards, really. But I'm sure they'll attack the future windows with a bit more aggression, should we say.
Before we do go, Lewis, what do you see happening tomorrow? You know, potential outgoings. Who's looking like they're going out tomorrow? Do you reckon in the next 24 hours?
Let's have a think. Who's that? See what happens with Kelleher if Forest come in with an improved bid. I think Doak will go out on loan. Who else is there? Morton's a bit of a
Sticky one, yeah.
I'm not sure on that. I think that's 50-50. A few of the younger lads, Cade Gordon, I think he'll probably end up getting a move. Nat Phillips, it's whether a club whether he can find him a move, basically. Have I missed anyone?
But that's pretty much the outgoings, I think.
Bajcetic as well.
Bajcetic has been confirmed to Salzburg. Yeah.
Oh, is that done now? Is it? Yeah. Well, I knew he was flying out there today.
Yeah.
So that's about it, really. I think it.
Oh, but the major question then, Lewis, incomings. Is there any? Give us some hope, please. Just give us something. We need something to get us through the next 24 hours of hope. Is there anyone out there that possibly might happen?
At risk of the aggregators clipping it up, I'd say they've not shut the door, but it's probably on the latch, ready to be just tapped shut.
Coming out, blow the hinges off. Coming out to take the hinges off. Or something.
Well, if something crops up, and they keep using this word opportunistic, I'm sure Richard Hughes will put a little elbow into the door to keep it open. But I can't see anything just based on the fact there's no time. But I wouldn't 100% rule that out. I think they have tried this week, so let's just see what happens. But it does look unlikely, I have to say.
To be honest, you won't give me the answer I probably expected. If I'm honest, I need something, Lewis. I need something. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining in tonight. Thank you everyone for joining the chat as well, getting your questions in and your comments in as well. Been some very good views tonight, and hopefully, I'm hoping we get someone in tomorrow, maybe a DM or a CF sent about. We need something. We'll start the season well, but you can't just base it off 2 games against Brentford and Ipswich, respectively. Lewis, thank you for joining us tonight as well. Thank you for all the updates that we needed. You've given us a little bit of hope, but not too much. But I think I expected that anyway. Thank you everyone for joining in tonight. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Like this video tonight. Get your notification bells on. We're live every single night, 7:30. I'll say big game on Sunday. Lewis, who's cheering on? Who are you cheering on Sunday?
I don't know what I'll say.
Both lose.
I'll say that I'll predict the Liverpool 2-0 win.
There you go. It really wants us both to lose. How about that? Thank you everyone for joining in. Have a great weekend. And I hope it ends on a Liverpool win and a Zuberman deal. See you later, boys.
Cheers.